nothing.
Yeah, we are too.
My brothers, what's a feeder program? I'm just curious.
Here you go, brother Wilson.
Sure wish I had one.
Hey man, you in Cleveland where you just picking up monster kids. Yeah, brother. But recruitment is definitely difficult right now. You know, since the virus and everything, we can't even go over like to the middle school if, you know what I'm saying, we wanted to recruit. So right now we're trying to do everything virtually, and that's just walking into a wall.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's we brother, like you said, man, we starting over from scratch. Like everything, our auxiliary, our instrumentation, everything. So this is pretty new, man. So Don Sean, you got any kids I could borrow?
There you go. Hey man, to be honest, man, we haven't done anything. I have not. I tried to meet with my kids a few times, but we haven't done anything at Shaw, man, since after we came back from Mardi Gras. So that was, that was last March of what, that was 20 before, right? When we got back, right before they shut everything down.
Okay.
So, my situation was a little different with my students. Grandparents raising them, majority of them living in, 1,100 square foot homes with 6 siblings with 1 bathrooms, man. I didn't want to be the cause of any one of those kids or the family members being sick, man, through COVID. So I just, my spirit wouldn't allow me to do it. So That's why I just had to cancel everything. I couldn't, get into it about, the band. I mean, a lot of my kids, 6 siblings, man, with a 2-bedroom home or 3-bedroom home, they sleeping on couches, and not all of them, but some of them, you know what I'm saying? I had to look out for everybody.
I understand.
Man, Joe Shelton, man, I've been trying to mix it up with you for at least since I've been down here in Mississippi, man. You on mute.
Oh, my bad. We definitely got to mix it up now, man. So, hopefully, I'm glad y'all already got the conversation started, man. So we gonna get this thing going. We got first of all, let me say, I don't know how it looks on y'all screen. We're gonna get it kicked off. We're gonna start in my upper left corner. And that's Mr. Wilson. Just give us a brief, tell us who you are, give us a background, undergraduate, and what your current position is, and we'll move from there.
Man, my name is Dashawn Wilson. I'm the band director at Shaw High School in East Cleveland, Ohio, undergraduate, alumni of Central State University. I marched there I graduated from Shaw in 1988. I'm alumni of Shaw. I think you can see my little shirt. Yeah. Alumni from Shaw High School, went to Central State in the fall of 1988. Got schooled by Joe Shelton in Tennessee State in 1989 at the Cleveland Classic. And that's what allowed me to be, to get my drum line together. Became sexually state from 1990, and we was rolling ever since. But currently, I'm the director of technology and communications for the East Cleveland City School District and also the Shaw High School Marching Band.
All right, nice. We're gonna talk a little bit about that '89 year in a little bit.
I guess.
Okay. Let's go next to my story. Got Mr. Beard. Are you here? Are you able to jump in?
I like to jump in, man. I'm just getting out of band practice myself. How y'all doing? My name is Joel Beard. I am currently the director of bands at Clarksdale High School down in Clarksdale, Mississippi. I am a graduate of the Tennessee State University, Big Blue, Aristocratic Bands, Fall 03, TTAO.
Thank you, sir. Let's go down here. Let's keep it with the TSU. Mr. Harris right down here in my bottom. Go kick it off.
All right, I'm Roger. undergraduate, Tennessee State University, fall 2002. TTAO. Okay. Just had to put that out there. Band director at Macomb. Right now, Denman High School. I'm in charge of recruiting out there. Also building the band program out there for Macomb School District. Also assistant band director at Macomb High School. I do a bulk of the arranging out there. I got my graduate degree at Jackson State University, which I was at Jackson State University, graduate assistant at Jackson State University from 11 to 2013. So that was under Lewis Liddell and Dow Teller.
Nice. All right, let's keep it moving. Introduction, Mr. Bruhz, it's all you.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Will Bruhz. I am a graduate of Detroit Osborne High School, born and raised in Detroit. I moved down to Tennessee to attend Middle Tennessee State University.
Not Southfield.
No, not Southfield. We from inner city, urban Detroit, East Side. But yeah,
that's in Southfield High.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I did a very brief stint at Alabama A&M before transferring to Middle Tennessee State University, where I finished up, and I am currently the band director at Hunters Lane High School here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nice. And I'm gonna tell some personal stories pretty much about all y'all in just a minute. But Mr. Man with an excellent last name, Mr. Shelton, go right ahead.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jason Shelton, originally from Chicago, Illinois. Went to Simeon High School. Did my undergrad at the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff. Magnificent band M4. Currently, I am the director of bands at Trotwood High School in Trotwood, Ohio.
Nice. And last but not least, I think he's having some issue with his camera, but Mr. Kelly, we'll be able to hear him, so we might not be able to see him, but we got another Mr. coming in. But Mr. Kelly, go right ahead. Introduce yourself.
All right, can y'all hear me?
We got you. We can hear you.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm Aaron Kelly from Nashville, Tennessee. Aristocratic Bands, fall 98. So I'm not currently band directing at the time, but I used to be the band director at Stratford High School in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm currently at Wright Middle School teaching physical education. So it's good to see all the band bros out there. So looking forward to these conversations.
And I'll give you a little more in detail about Ms. Kelly in just a second. And last but not least, we got Mr. Walters. Go ahead, jump in. In case you missed, just tell us a little brief about who you are, where your undergrad, and what your current current position is.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, cool. Antoine Walters, went to undergrad at the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, better known as UAPB. And I'm currently serving as director of bands in Houston, Texas at Heights High School.
Nice. All right. So each one of you gentlemen, I don't know if you watched the first episode, but everybody is strategically picked because I've had a personal experience with each one of you gentlemen. And I think you all have something that the upcoming music educators need to hear. And a lot of times in undergraduate school, we learn the basics of, how to play an instrument and how to write a lesson plan and all that stuff. But I think each of you gentlemen have a story to tell, the real uncut stories to tell people out there to really know what they need to prepare for when they step into this game of called, music education, especially sometimes in inner city schools. And, a lot of times it comes off to be fun and I can arrange these tunes and we go to these battle of bands and it's all hunky dory and everybody's happy. But a lot of times we need people, a lot of people get caught up on the things they didn't know and they're finding out on the fly. And sometimes it causes frustration. And so your experiences, I think, are what people, the young educators coming up, need to hear. And I know each one of you specifically that I know you got a story to tell, because I've been following everybody's career, over time just through social media. Mr. Kelly, I invited him over. He not only is my neighbor, but Mr. Kelly, he is a band director, former band director at Stratford, but he also coaches. He's a track coach. He does things, and there's a lot of parallel things that sometimes we don't think about that athletic coaches deal with, and that are really similar to what the band world deals with. So I'm going to get him to come from being a band director and a state runner-up track coach here in the state of Tennessee a few years ago. So I got his, specifically want to hear from him. Then I have Mr. Walters, who I think he was in Memphis for a couple of years and came to Stratford in Nashville. And then he's gone to the core style. Am I correct, Mr. Walters? And
Yes.
I definitely want to hear that experience, how it is transitioning from the traditional style inner city school to the core style in a completely different environment. So, and Bruhz, we already know Bruhz, man, came. Well, let me tell you this. I taught in Detroit Cooley High School in 2001. That was my first gig. And I had some duplex apartments that were right across the street from Osborne High School. And I'm new. I ain't never been in Detroit, so I'm just out there, and I just hear this band kicking butt. I'm like, who is it? What is this band? Who is this over here hitting these super Z's on this trumpet over here? I was like, man, what band is this? So I went outside, look, I saw this band over here marching around. And I said, okay, it's Osborne Band. And just to come out, find out years later, Bruhz was over in that band. That was the main one over there killing them. And I was like, man, I was wild out at that point in time. So, and he came to Nashville, and he's, put Hunter's Lane on the map, man, and is kicking butts. And I'm gonna give you your flowers while they do, man. Hunter's Lane is one of the best high school bands I've seen in Tennessee in years, man. So you are doing an awesome job. And I want to always give each other the flowers while we can, man. So just to start all that off. So, and I'm gonna get to you in a second. And Mr. Wilson, I met this guy. I think Ronald Martin was the band director up at what's the name of the high school? Ronald Martin in the early 2000s.
Northern. That was Pontiac Northern.
Pontiac Northern. And he had a band competition in the old Detroit Lions football stadium. I forget what that's called.
Silverdome.
Silverdome.
Yeah, Pontiac Silverdome.
That was my first. I was one of my first big trips I took with Maplewood when I got the job, and he told me to come up to the band competition. And we went to the Silverdome, and after the battle was over, we sitting down eating lunch, and this young man comes up to me and said, hey man, my name is Mr. Wilson. I'm the band director at Shaw High School, and I'm having this battle of the bands in Cleveland, man. I want to know if you'd be interested in bringing your band. And I was like, okay, cool. And from that point right there, meeting him, we went to Shaw's competition. I think that was our main trip every year. So I know we went at least 3 or 4 years in a row, then we was off, then we came back off and on. But man, I'm always impressed with Shaw. Shaw is one of my favorite bands. You as a director, man, you always clean, you always suited, dapped up. I'm like, man, every time I see, I was like, dang, I wore a jogging suit. This dude over here in a damn shirt and tie. And I'm like, man, I wanted to go back and change my clothes after I see Shaw High School Band. So, man, I really appreciate the character and appearance that you carry as a director, man, in your program, and it shows within your kids, man. So I appreciate you, man. And bouncing from Mr. Wilson, when I went to one of Shaw's competitions, I saw this other band, Trotwood, that was up there kicking butt. I forgot what year it was. And then I found out the band director's last name was Shelton. So my first thing, well, I need to go find out who he in the Ken. So I went over and talked to him, and he's like, yeah, just Shelton. So we still haven't figured out that connection yet, man. But I just remember that, man. And I was really impressed with your program at that time, man. And so those three guys right there, that was sort of a link for me. And I was like, how do we connect that way? So that lets you know there's always a higher power that always puts things that's working in the background, it puts things together. And once you sit back and just sort of oversee everything, man, you have to say, man, okay, there's a man up above who's doing bigger works than we can all imagine down here. So enough of that. We're going to jump right into this conversation, fellas. And I want you all to keep it real. Tell us your real experiences. Tell us, this is no politically correct answers. I want you to give us from your heart and what you feel, okay? You guys already sort of started talking about this a little bit. And based upon, we always say, we hear that bands should have 10% of their student body. So if your school is 1,000 people, they're saying that you should have at least 100 kids in your program. Tell me what you think about that old saying. Is it fitting for you? Is it realistic in 2021? And whoever want to jump in on that, jump right in.
I'm gonna keep it real with you, man. It just depends on where you are. My story, I taught in Memphis. I taught at some of the roughest schools in Memphis. I started at Sheffield with the Haverview Middle School. I was there for 5 years, and I was at this, we got to keep it PG or what?
No, go for it.
Okay, I was at this hellhole called Kirby High School. Now, Havenview, yeah, I was able to get, I started out with a guy named Brandon Hood, and, by myself, I was able to get 100 kids in the band. Where else? Those high schools, And where I am now down here, I could probably do the 10% rules. We only got 500 kids in the school, so I can probably get 50 kids in the band down here. But like at Sheffield and Kirby, the thing is with that, first off, in Memphis, they have something called open enrollment. So you may have a middle school feeder in the area, but you got the big bands, I'm not gonna call any names out, that's going to those schools, picking those kids off. Then you have the stigma. A lot of times those schools are switching through band directors. You may have one band director that comes in August, another one that come in January. So the kids they want something stable. So a lot of times I'll be thankful if I just got some kids to show up to band at all. And like at Kirby, if y'all seen my work at Kirby, I probably had a 16 piece on a good day. Sheffield, I think my high number may have been about 30, but when I left that school, it was 9 kids in the band. So just depending on where you are, especially coming from an inner city, it's hard to get kids in the band. Kids don't want to work anymore. They don't want to, and like I tell my kids, band is one of the last disciplines out there where you have to put work into it. Everything now, these kids are the microwave generation. They used to, they can go to YouTube and get this, to go to mathplus.com and get the answer to this. Band's the last thing you have to work at. And what I'm finding out is a lot of kids now don't want to work. They don't want to put that work in, so a lot of them will quit. Or again, like I said, you may have a situation where you may have a middle school feeder, but you got the bigger, well-known high schools picking those kids off instead of taking them away. And which, like I said, I can't blame a child for wanting to go to a better program than what I had at the time. But, yeah, so when principals or anybody else come, how your band's not good, it's not big, it doesn't take many to do plenty. That's just how I feel about it.
Just interjecting on what he said, because I did that teaching in Memphis life, and it was rough, man. Because like I had a pretty interesting career teaching in Memphis, in North Memphis, in one of the rough area codes there, and at Manassas, and I'm telling y'all that those were some of the best kids that I ever taught, as far as just kids that are latched on. But you still have to deal with that reality that you know, if you was trying to get kids from those of y'all that's from Detroit, if you was trying to get kids that was from a Spain middle school or something like that, like, and you taught at Southwestern, they gonna jump to Cass Tech before they jump to Southwestern. Those are facts. You know, first off, both schools are far away. None of the schools are closed. You know, none of the schools are closed. And second off, they ain't about to go to that neighborhood. They don't want to go to that neighborhood. There's nothing attractive about it. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So that's what you're dealing with. That's what you're dealing with, just even teaching there. So when I got there, I literally came there with only like 2 or 3 kids at that first band rehearsal. I only came there with 2 or 3 kids at that first band rehearsal. And I remember vividly, man. And it was just a matter of trying to get that band rehearsal to grow. I was happy to have 9 kids at that band. I remember the first time they performed, they introduced the Bonanza's band. They somebody in the crowd was like, "Don't nobody want to hear that shit?" Before they even played. Everybody laughed. And that was rough on those kids, man. You know, I told them jokers, man, I said, hey, look, dog, if y'all win y'all crowd over, y'all gonna be straight wherever y'all go. Y'all gonna be straight wherever y'all go. And I mean, the best thing that I could do to those kids, honestly, was taking them to Concert Festival for the first time in Lord knows how long.
Right.
And I did manage to do that. They did go to a few parades and stuff under me, but also there was also that caveat that Mr. Beard mentioned earlier about administration. You know, administration may or may not want you to go to places because they expect for every band to be like the top tier bands. And, you know, there's a bunch of high schools in Memphis, but you only hear about 4 or 5. There's a whole lot more high schools in Memphis. A whole lot more. That's the thing that that's rarely talked about. And it's just what you're dealing with. Now, in Mississippi, you have a different situation altogether because it's set up to where you have feeders. It's set up to where you have feeder programs. Now, I moved back to Mississippi from Memphis because somebody called me specifically to build up this band program. Like somebody high up in this school district called me to build up this band program because it had fallen off when it was one of the top tier band programs in the state. So I jumped on it as soon as I could, you know? It wasn't a deal to me. But it's a tale of 2 different things. And I mean, we all know, I think all of us know the difference between working in the inner city versus not working in the inner city. And that 10% thing, that may or may not be a reality.
Right.
All right, who else want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I will. The biggest issue that I have right now, the administrator that I have, he's like a Ohio State superstar. And then his son is a Michigan State superstar. So I'm in an athletic school district to whereas they're big on all the athletes and things like that. I could get a lot of kids in band, but the problem that I'm having is when they see the band, they see the discipline of the band. And a lot of these younger kids right now, they don't want to do any.
I think we lost him there for a second. We'll give him a second to jump in. And what he's saying, I know the discipline thing, you know, and I'm pretty sure it's the same. Go ahead, Jason.
My bad. Yeah, the discipline thing, that's the biggest issue that I have because a lot lot of kids are coming on this band. They'll see them working out like, oh, hell, I'm not about to work out to be in a band. But the way I was able to get the little handful that I got is scholarships, is putting that on the news, the scholarships that the kids get. So it's not the kids I'm trying to get, it's the parents that I'm trying to get to force their kids, you need to be in that program. That's the program that's giving that money. The athletes, man, they'll go to practice every single day, get their butts whooped. Go to the game, you will see them sitting on the bench. If you roll with me and you go to all those practices, you will be in the game. You know, every school that I've been at had to build it up from scratch. The first band that I had in Ohio was Colonel White, and I started with 7 kids. And the way that those 7 kids got interested, the kids from Central State told me about this Battle of the Bands in Cleveland that Mr. Wilson was holding. So I said, okay, we go try that out. Went there, did a decent job. Then went to Central State, became the percussion instructor, and then Dayton Public asked me to come and build a band there. So I built that band up, and once I was able to build that band up somewhat, Trotwood said, you know what, we need a band director. But I was with Dayton Public for quite some time, but then Trotwood asked me to come over there, went over there, and I had been there for quite some time. The amount of kids that we're able to get into college on those scholarships is the only way that right now I'm able to get any kind of kids. Because like I say, we are in the athletic school district where all the kids want to be athletes. All the kids think that they go be superstars. They think they go be pros, but it doesn't even happen. And when they see that they are not pros, then a lot of the others say, well, hell, we gotta do something else. Up north right now, what's different from up north and down south, music is the key. Up north, athletes are the key. You know, so we struggle on that instance. I mean, big time. You know, I try and tell kids, if you go down south, the band is really where it's at. Music is where it's at. You know, the athletes, they come kind of like secondary, not putting any of the southern schools down, but up north is straight athletic. So we struggle with that right now.
Anybody else jump in on that? And what do you think? I mean, down here, down south, kids starting off, the guys, they start off Pee Wee playing football at 5. And everybody, parents are there. They're going to take them to the games. They're playing basketball. They're playing AAU. So they're starting at a real young age. So I think parents are looking at it as an investment, maybe their child will hopefully be a good athlete to where they can play in high school and play in college. And I think that's one of the issues, the roadblocks that some of our kids dealing with. They probably having parents that are vested all these years in athletics. And now with his high school, even though they know their kid ain't that good, they still thinking that, maybe if I keep pushing them, maybe someone will give them a shot, So is there an answer to that? Do we need to start band earlier? I mean, do we need, and that's one thing I say about Memphis that I sort of like, that, they had the little majorette and drummers back when I was, in high school. So the younger generation got a taste of that marching band at a younger age, and that sort of drove them on. So, but anybody else want to comment on that 10% on your numbers? And I know Mr. Kelly, he can jump in on that coaching part because the athletic part a little better.
I'll talk a little bit just from my perspective. Being honest, I really don't even think 10% is realistic. Even on now being in the core side, my school now is 3,000 kids, probably like 3,200. So 10%, there's just no way. I don't think it's fair to say, because there's so many other things that
kids could be involved in. You know, and when I taught in Memphis, I taught at Melrose High School. You know, we had about 400 kids at the school. You know, the band was never going to be bigger than 40 or 50. So I think a lot of times we just have to be realistic, you know, and it's just like with anything else, you know, things work back then that don't necessarily apply to kids these days, you know, like Brother Shelton said. I mean, kids are interested in so many different things. If you're not talking about money, if you're not talking about what can they get out of it, it's just not going to be interesting for them. And, you know, and so that's what we kind of deal with. So I think if you go into it as a young educator thinking that, oh, my school has 1,000 kids, so I'm gonna have 100 kids in the band. It's not a realistic goal to have, because it doesn't work like that. There's so many factors that play against that. I do think by starting the kids earlier, you can gain the interest in it, and they typically stick with it. But also, what happens is kids begin to get burnt out when they start earlier. Because they're like, okay, well, by the time high school comes, it's like, man, I've been in the band since, you know, 3rd grade. And you know, even though marching band is something different, you know, that's not something I really want to do. And I think across the world, and I ain't really done those studies, but this is what I'm seeing. Kids aren't really interested in band, period, whether it's marching band, rubber band, whatever kind of band it is. They're just not interested in band, period. So we have to find ways to make it interesting so that they want to do it going from middle school band to high school band. Because even on the core side, I see kids where you have an 8th grade class, it's like, you know, 50 or 60 kids, but those kids, they don't want to march. They don't want to do marching band. Like, that's not something that interests them. So we have to figure out ways to, I guess, kind of reinvent what we thought was the way to kind of do band.
Anybody else want to jump on in that?
If I can jump in on that, just kind of piggybacking on what Brother Walters was saying, I kind of got to play devil's advocate a little bit. You know, he had mentioned kids getting burned out on band, and I kind of had a unique situation. You know, being from Detroit and going to Spain. You know, Spain middle school. You know, we're 5th grade, and they got us watching videos of Southern and stuff, and we're looking in the mirror, watching ourselves march, and we're watching how our capes turn, you know, in the mirror and stuff. So being exposed to that at such a young age, it really created intense band heads, because the people that I went to Spain with are the same people that I seen section leader at this college and going here and got bands doing this and doing that. And although they may not all be involved in band right now, it was so ingrained with them that those Spain kids just happened to be the core of a lot of the solid high school programs that were in Detroit. And that was just, you know, we had 3 middle schools that were doing band like that. So we had Spain, we had Pelham Middle School, we had Ann Arbor Trail. But if you look at different demographics, for instance, the Mecca, I love the system that New Orleans has in place. You know, sometimes we go down there for Mardi Gras, and, you know, I'm looking at these kids playing with the root of music, and this kid is coming up to my upper thigh, and he got a trumpet trying to play a high D and trying to scream F's and stuff. I'm like, man, this is like a kid that's doing this. So when they're doing this, you know, they gain that interest and they're having success at it. They see band, they're exposed to band, they get hungry for it. So by the time they roll into your Edna Carr, your Landry Walker, you got kids that are coming in that are like, oh, this is what I'm here for. I came to this school because I want to march and I want to do this. So that the 10%, I don't know if that's necessarily a realistic goal in those particular schools, but the kids that they are getting that are coming in the door are coming in on firing on all cylinders. I mean, they're high caliber kids. And by the time, you know, a Hunter's Lane, where I'm standing in the lunchroom just asking random kids, hey, man, what do you do after school? Man, come on, man, you should be in the band. I'm begging and pleading with this kid. And by that 10th, 11th grade year, they're like, oh, yeah, I'll give it a try. And by the time they start having some success, I'm like, well, it's been real, man. They're graduating. They on out the door. So when you starting them so late, you just don't get that experience of being able to hold on to them and collectively add to it. Because by the time you get a couple more kids, and you're like, oh, we're getting some size. They're saying, you know, you got a graduating class of 15 going out. Like, oh man. So, you know, that's something that's been a real struggle for us.
I will say about recruiting. You almost gotta pester these kids. You almost got to pester these kids, man. There's no other way to do it. Like, and you got to come to them in so many different angles. And it don't even matter where you start them. Like, where you, man, whether you start them at middle school, high school, you got to bug them to death. You got to bug them to death because half of them, their first response is going to be a swift no. Their first response is going to be a swift no. And and we all know that, right? We all know that. Their first response is going to be a swift no, or I don't know. You just keep pestering them because they ain't doing nothing. They ain't doing nothing. They going home, going to sleep, playing PlayStation or something like that. Playing Fortnite, something. You know, they doing all that. Half of them ain't doing nothing. And then the ones that's playing football ain't even playing football.
No, not at all.
Oh, man, they're riding the bench, man. They're riding the bench.
Hey, they turning their heads listening to the bands.
Right, man.
They get whiplash.
So it's like, you know, you just talk to them like, man, what you doing, man? Come on, dog, what you doing? Like, you play football? For real? You play football? For real? You really playing football? And you know, with this horn, you could be playing in the band for real. And don't you honestly know
with the band, good at the horn, sure, you start.
Like, yeah, man. You know, you get good at this horn, you get good at this drum. Like, for real, this is an investment that can really pay you back. This is an investment that can pay you back. Like, I have a kid that told me, a young scholar, a band scholar, that told me that they wanted to be a musician. Like, they want to go into a career to be a musician. So we're pouring knowledge into them to where we're pouring knowledge into them so they can go into that career path. All right. They can start in profit and all that. We said, yo, this can make you money. This can definitely make you money. And you need to know that. You need to know that. And like, you could start off at a church and make X amount of money. You need to know that. You could start off like playing at little things, make X amount of money. You can know that. You know, you need to know that. Or, hey, look, you can do that little job at McDonald's if you want to. That's what you want to do.
Man, I think, and I'm gonna give anybody else that wants to jump in on it, but I think it's an issue that we have that it seems that athletics is the only and quickest and not quickest or easiest way to success or to to wealth in our community. You know, that I believe because we start them young, and then I have kids that think because they are cold on N2K or Madden, they actually think that transfers to the actual court and field. So in their minds, okay, I'm playing this on games. And I'm gonna put it like this. I think we have kids that would rather go be the fourth string on a winning football team and sit the bench and never get any playing time rather than go to another team, play for a team where they can go in and be a starter and make an impact immediately. And I think that's the concept that we're dealing with band. Band is something, a musician is something that you're not going to see results right now, but a few years down the road, and that's the issue. They want it right now. They want to pick up that horn and sound like Southern right now, like after 30 minutes. And so when they find out that, okay, this is a 2 to 3 year process, I think that is the reason why they, okay, no, I don't want to do that. But if I go out here on the basketball court and score 20 points and dunk on somebody, I might be an instant sensation. So I think that's the mentality of our kids, the putting in the hard work, like you said. Once you start, I had a kid one time at band camp They came to band camp, and I said, okay, we stretched, and we ran 2 laps around the little court. They never came back after them 2 laps. And I called the parent, and the parent was like, well, she didn't know that y'all was going to actually have to exercise in bands. You thought you were just going to sit down and play. I was like, no, man. So, and that was, and I saw that kid for the next 3 years. I was like, hey, you gonna be in the band? She never came back. Them 2 laps ruined band for her. So the hard work aspect, they just think band is gonna be super easy, and I'm just gonna come in, it's gonna be instantaneous fun, and it's gonna jump in, it's gonna be no hard work, and I'll do it, and I'm all for it. You might want to jump in. Mr. Wilson and Mr. Kelly, I know we haven't heard from you all.
Yeah, man, I've been at the difference with me, man, I've been at the same school since 97. I came back, started in 98. I started off as the percussion instructor at Shaw High School, then moved on to the assistant band director, then ultimately became the band director in 2000. Excuse me, but I was able to see through the decades so many different translations, just as each and every one of you spoke about. When you look at the North, when I look at one of the components that I had to deal with at Shaw High School from the South was that most kids or schools from the South have the opportunity to see an HBCU,
Right.
Close by and nearby. The closest school to Shaw High School and HBCU was Central State University. You're still talking about a 3.5, 4-hour drive, depending on how you drive to get there. And then at that particular time, Central State, wasn't, doing too much. We didn't have social media back then. And so trying to convince kids what I was saying was going to be okay, even for our first competition up in Michigan. Another point I wanted to stress is that when you talk about the athletes or being creative or how kids just want to, take other, to be a part of other programs, we were known for having certain type of warm-ups that I guess attracted a lot of kids. Then other programs in the school, and at Shaw High School, non-athletic or athletic or whatever, start having the same company get them uniforms. So a lot of kids started dropping out of the band because they just wanted to be affiliated with something. If they had a uniform to be in our career and tech program, fire tech, I had kids getting out the band because they had something that represented these 4 letters on my chest that says Shaw, regardless what after, they came, as long as it says Shaw on there, they were cool. So I've seen the transition to make our creativity as band directors just go up, down, crossways, sideways. We when you talk about the arts and the creativity of the arts, man, we have a job to continue to motivate, our students by any means necessary to get our job, to keep our programs and things going. The other part, when someone just talked about the athletes, because Shaw Band has a certain standard, and again, by me being the band director there for those years, the standard has never changed since I'm there. So I have kids who are phenomenal on their horn, very talented, but you have a winning program with the Shaw Marching Band as it relates to our East Cleveland City schools. And then these kids will go and be a part of another program that don't even win. So I couldn't, the psyche behind that, I couldn't understand that. Here you with a program, yeah, we work a little harder, but you see the evidence behind it by way of competitions or awards and things like that, or accolades, but you will leave us to go to be a part of another organization that gets zero recognition as long as you got a uniform with Shaw on there, regardless of what you got after the fact. So I dealt with a lot of that, man. The 10% that's old. That doesn't matter here where I'm at. It's like I think Will Brooks had alluded to. I started the band by seeing kids who I started Shaw Band with a drum line. Kids who were kicked out of the wrestling team, kicked off the football team because they wanted a discipline. They wanted to be disciplined. but everyone else just wanted them to be a part of that discipline of that sport, of that athleticism or whatever. So I was, again, man, finding kids on the street, finding kids in the hallway. If I was a substitute at first, so by me being a substitute, being able to go to each and every class, at a certain given time, I was able to just, again, appeal and talk to kids. That's how I started, man. But now it's getting harder and harder without a feeder program. I have a middle school program. A few years back, I had a middle school program. I know we're on Facebook Live, so I got to be politically correct. I had a middle school program with 60 kids in the 7th grade band and about 80 kids in the 8th grade band. You know how many of those kids came to the marching band? 2. So you look at it and you start scratching your head like, so what's going on at the middle school? And I'm gonna leave it at that. That's another situation.
Mr. Kelly, you want to jump in on this last before we get to the next question? I will come back. Maybe he had to jump off real quick. It's so from what I'm seeing from everyone, the middle school is the lack of middle school and the lack of those feeder kids at your feeder school actually coming to your high school is a big issue. Can that be fixed? Is there a solution? Because like Mr. Beard said, in Nashville, we have this thing, like you said, it's an open enrollment basically. And I may have 20 kids in a feeder school that's less than a mile from me. 10 of those probably won't even come to Maplewood. And the 10 that do, I might get 1 or 2. So somewhere there's a disconnect in that middle school. Is there a solution to that?
If I can speak on that, like I told you, I'm down in Clarksdale, Mississippi now. And one of the things that I'm seeing, because like I said, not having a dedicated feeder in Memphis, what I'm seeing is that you got to be a part of that middle school band. You have to be in that middle school band room every day. Like the guy that I'm working with now, very good band director, good people. He's been teaching probably twice as long as I have. But one of the things that we do, I'm in his class every day. He's in my class every day. Right now, we're getting ready for our spring concert with, I guess you can call it a concert band or whatever, winter ensemble. But he's at practice every day. I'm in practice with his kids when he has practice. So one of the things that I found out that's been working for me down here is to make sure that those kids know me. They feel, they get a feel of what Mr. Beard is, what band is like. Invite them over to the band room. Let's come over. Let's buy them some pizza, buy them some cookies, buy them some chips or something like that. And I guess kind of bribe them and get them comfortable and safe to come in. Because one of the things I have noticed too, even with these children down here, when they first start coming over with the high school, there's a fear. And like I said, that was something I had to kind of get used to. Because like I said, in Memphis, even though some of those kids may be going to different schools, they're coming out of middle school. And when you set horns up, boom, they're ready to go. They're used to that kind of life. But most middle school kids aren't. So when they come in with the high school, things I've noticed is they are, like everyone's been saying, they don't want to do band. Then you deal with a situation where they're intimidated. They come over there and they're trying to play. You got a high schooler killing the music, another high school killing the music, and they're feeling as though that they are inferior to that. So it's a lot of making them feel safe, schmoozing parents. So that's another thing I've learned from one of my mentors, schmoozing parents. When they come to drop the kid off, hey man, your child did sober work today. Would you mind let me join the band? Just having to talk to them. So it's a lot of behind the scenes begging, a lot of behind the scenes making them feel safe, bribing. And sometimes, like you said, Mr. Shelton, you may only get 2 kids out the group. But the way I look at it, there's 2 more kids than what I had. So
anyone else on a solution to getting, and I guess I brought this up in conversation. I asked another band director, I said, their band was going to concert festival and they were getting all these superior ratings. And I was like, man, how are you doing it, man? I was like, how are you consistently able to put this product, this sounding product in marching band, concert, jazz band? And he said, well, my freshmen coming in are reading on a grade 2 level. And I was like, wow. And I think sometimes with band directors, especially us, when we are blessed to have a situation where we're having those level of kids coming in, we sort of pound on our chest a little bit, and then we sort of put our nose up a little bit, and then we look down on the band that doesn't have that. Like we're saying, we're going around pulling kids out the hallway and out the cafeteria, and sometimes that creates a little animosity, when somebody's getting those type of kids and you're over here struggling trying to make it happen. So with that being said, how frustrating, this is on a personal level, how frustrating is it when you see a program underachieving or achieving with resources that you do not just have? How frustrating is that personally? When you
Very.
And I want you to be personal. I'm gonna let it out.
It is very. I'm sorry, Joe Shelton. Brother Shelton, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It is very frustrating. It is very frustrating from somebody that's been on both sides of that fence. It is very frustrating. From somebody that didn't have the resources to somebody that does. And then having the resources and then seeing somebody, when you see people that have all the resources, or you see people that have all the resources and then they squander it, and you like, yo, do you know how people would love, what people would do to be in your shoes right now? Because like, honestly, man, like some of these band programs that people are looking at right now, we are like the people that you're looking at, you like, wow, like they're doing an awesome job. They really are doing an awesome job, because the type of things that we all have to do to get those kids together is just something else, and people don't necessarily understand that. And but there's honestly people that once they get to that, once kids get to a high school, they're not trying to teach the kids anymore. They're not trying to teach the kids anymore. They feel like once the kids get there, they should have learned everything that they know. They should know everything that they learned. I said that backwards. Y'all, I'm sorry, I'm tired. I'm tired, but they should know everything by then. So they're not trying to teach it. They should have a ready-made program. And this is where I think colleges might have failed some of us, because it gave us a false reality. It gave us a false reality to where you can step into a situation and not have to do anything. You can just step onto a podium and then just direct. And that's not necessarily the case. That's not the case. And when you don't have that background of being able to teach and to bring something up to another level, or even maintaining it, it's going to fall apart eventually. It's going to fall apart eventually. You just, or like it won't get any better. It won't get any better. It just be bland. It'll just be bland. And you can always see it happening. You can always see it happening. So it's very frustrating, honestly. It's very frustrating. You see it everywhere. So that's my piece. That's my piece. I'm gonna leave that be.
Man, I'll jump in on that one. This is something that's particularly a soft spot for me, and I'm gonna go ahead and be vulnerable at this point. Now, I typically don't do this, but it is what it is. So, as band directors, I feel a lot of times we naturally have egos, and it's unintentional. It's just a natural thing. So I'm going to use my same example. I talk about the city of New Orleans just because I love the system they have in place. They've got middle schools there that'll come to some of our cities and come through like a tornado and tear some of these high schools apart. And when I look at it, it was one middle school in particular. I think it's called Alice Hart Middle School. Band is huge. I mean, on fire. And then, I'm talking to a New Orleans native, and they're like, yeah, man, 80% of those kids feed right into Ed in the car. And in my head, I'm like, this ain't right. Because for me, I'm literally begging kids on a daily basis. Oh man, come on, bro. You can give up Fortnite tonight. Just hold this trombone. Let me show you how to hold it. That's it. And we're expected to compete with some of these other programs when we go places, but nobody knows the circumstances behind what's going on. They don't care about none of that. The only thing they care about is what happens on YouTube when you see each other face to face. It's tit for tat. The circumstances don't matter. It's even Steven, you standing in front of that band, let's go. So, they don't know that I had to go pick up the kid from a house where they were abused, and I got to get this kid a ride home every night, and I live an hour away from the school, and I got to go through all of this stuff just to get a band to come together and work. And some people got kids that come in the room that's bred and ready to go, and they just pass out the music, count the song off, let's shape it, let's perform. So for me, that's something that's a little tough for me because I feel like there's some disparities in the work level, and I'll use Joe Shelton as an example of this because he is the king of this. I've seen Joe show up to performances with anywhere between 9 to 30 kids, and no matter how many kids he has, those kids always have a solid sound. They always got good fundamentals. They're always balanced. They always sound amazing. And for me, I'm like, man, them kids sound good every time I see them. And somebody else may brush it off. But being that Joe is my brother, he's right down the street from me. I know what he went through to get those kids to sound like that. So although his band may be this particular size and this is what they're performing up to, and this band may be 150 people and this is what they're performing up to, I've got so much more respect for Joe's group because I know the type of grind that they had to go through to get where they are, as opposed to the easy make band that comes together. And of course, I'm not talking about any band in particular. I'm talking about bands that have good systems in place where they come together, and you got bands that don't have that are competing with them, that are equally as good, that play with equally as much passion, equally as much musicianship. So for me, that was a struggle, and it got to the point to where it was literally eating me up because I was so hung up on numbers. Oh man, I need to get some more kids. I need to get this. I need to get that. I literally can show you a text message from a kid today that said, Mr. Bruhz, I think I'm gonna have to step away from band for a little while because it's just taking up too much of my time and my mom wants me to concentrate on school. Now, let me tell you what my band's practice schedule is right now, because 80% of my school is bussed in. Nobody really lives near the school. So when the parents are at work, I can't get them to say, well, I know everybody's virtual, so can y'all come in after school? By the way, I've got one band kid that's in person. The rest of the band is virtual. So if we want to have practice, that means that they have to get a ride from home to school at 2:15 in a day. And everybody's parents, I can't even get the kids home at night. So trying to get them there during the day, that's a whole nother task. My band practice is Sundays from 2 to 6. Sundays, that's it. Sundays from 2 to 6. And this kid said, Mr. Bruhz, it's just too much commitment right now. I got this going on. Like, how? We practicing one day a week from 2 to 6.
Brother Brooks, though, I think it's unintentionally, I think we get hung up on the numbers because everybody else gets hung up on the numbers. When we have a small program and administration really wants us to have a bigger band, personally, I'd rather have a small band with a big heart than a big band with a small heart. Quality sound over every single thing, but on the outside, everybody just looks and say, man, why isn't the band at least 50 or 100? Well, because that's something that they don't want to do. Of course, I want them. Of course, we all want them, but that's just not the reality.
Absolutely.
You know, administration really pushes that on us, but it's not the reality that they go just come. These kids right now, man, it's like they want a scholarship to come to high school. And it's ridiculous.
Speaking of
What
numbers,
give me if I come to practice? Like education.
I also think yeah, go ahead. I think we as directors, we make it look so easy. So because of that, it's very easy for us to get, in our feelings about, not having the amount of, players that another school has, or, just the resources, because we don't, when we share the good news of our programs or just any news of our programs, we don't show the bad stuff. Like we talk about the good stuff. So people automatically see, everybody puts their good foot forward. So sometimes it takes us having to say like, man, we ain't got no instruments, or man, we ain't got, we ain't got this, or we don't have a feeder program, so that people, not so that people will feel sorry for us, but so that people will know the real of what you go through to try to put that product out there. Because I think that's one of the things that I just see is just that it's just we're not real. We don't say like, hey man, we're struggling in this area. Like we just don't have a feeder program, or we ain't got this. So of course, naturally, we just not gonna have that, And then one of the things that one of my mentors told me, he was like, man, when it comes to numbers, and it took me like 2 years to get this through my head, it's about management and leadership. Managers are concerned about numbers. They're concerned about, you getting the right numbers and things like that. But being a leader, you're concerned about the people that are in front of you that produce the numbers. And so like when I realized that, when I really got that in my head, I was like, oh wow. So like focus on the kids, that I got. And like I can honestly say, for the ones that I do know on the call, man, y'all have done amazing. Like I have never heard any of y'all groups sound, bad or anything. So y'all are some amazing directors. If nobody else tells y'all that, I felt the need to tell y'all are some amazing directors that I, as a young director, look up to and emulate some of the things that you guys do. So kudos to you guys.
I wanted to jump in on even with the support system, when you talk about the numbers, I had got to be careful, man. I had an administrator, one of our leaders, come up to me and say, hey, now mind you, we probably got about, at our high school, it's probably about, I just want to throw out maybe 600 or 700 students. And I'm probably, pushing that number up realistically. And one of the administrators said, hey man, I know that, the band is good and all and get accolades and things like that, but I mean, why are the numbers are so low? And it was hard for me to answer because I got so frustrated because of the things like, like my man just mentioned about being a band director, man, we have to have that Superman mentality or that superhero mentality that we don't show to the administration our struggles too much, because they all just want a product. When you talk about leadership and management, they just want a product, but they don't know what it takes. I heard one person talk about driving the kid home at night and doing that. Jay Shelton, I mean, we feed kids. Kids are coming to practice that have not eaten yet. I have a storage closet where I give kids. I have underwear, underclothes for young women and men. I have sanitary, toiletries, things like that, deodorant. I have all those things. They can just come in there and don't even ask it. And now they said, Mr. Wilson, I need to go to room B or whatever. I give them the key and they go in there and do whatever they need to do, but we have to provide that. But sometimes administration and other people don't appreciate those small little things that we as band directors or leaders have to do to make our programs and our students feel comfortable, for one, in order for them to be successful. So that, that was, like I said, that was so frustrating to me when my administrator came to me and asked me that question. And I'm like, do you not see what's going on? So man, it's a lot. I don't want to be, I know we want to be honest. I don't want to be on here just talking about all of the bad things, but these are the true and honest things that we deal with. And I'm glad that Shelton, that you brought us on here to talk about these truths, man. These are the facts, the realities that we deal with each and every day. And I'm just grateful for this platform to be able to speak upon, some of the things that we don't really talk about, because for one, they emotionally, they hurtful, is you feel underappreciated, the work that you put in, you give up your whole summers, you give up man. Well, with my program, I don't see holidays, because we perform in Memorial Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving Day, some by choice, some by because we have to. The summers, we practice in it from 4 to 9 every evening. And by me being an administrator, I'm an administrator from 8 to 4, and then I go and band practice from 4 to 9. That's, man, I'm pushing 12, 14-hour days every day, all year for 20 plus years, man. That's, dude, I'm
right.
feeling something different.
And I'm glad you segued that, man, because my next question is, and I know I've dealt with it because I'm 20 years into it, and then sometimes, you sit back and you're driving home and you're asking, you just start talking to yourself. You're like, man, what am I doing? What am I not doing? What maybe if I tried this, maybe if I should have did it this way. And it's a constant churning in your brain or trying to figure out what it is. So how real is depression? I mean, can band directors and teachers get depressed? And I know we don't, as men, a lot of times we don't want to talk about it, but how real is that? And then how is it possible for us to unchain? Can we cut it off and not have that going on in our brain? So anybody jump in.
Nah,
Man,
we can't cut it off. I mean, when you put your all into it, and it just doesn't come out the way that you wanted it to, or you don't necessarily get the accolades that you think you deserve, or you put so much time into not just the program, but you put even more time into the kids that you have. Like Brother Wilson was saying, and Brother Bruhz, driving kids home, giving them money, understanding their household issues. I mean, yeah, you definitely get depressed. It's gonna be hard to not get depressed when you see certain things outside the band that influence that child. We love the music, but we also, though, when we say our kids, those are literally our kids. So when you see them struggling and you really want to do better for them, yeah, it's just hard. I don't know how we'll be able to separate that.
I really didn't find a sense of separation to that until I had my son. Man, I've got a 3-year-old son, and I'm at work. My job is an hour away from my home. I live in Murfreesboro, but I work in Nashville. So my drive to and from work is my time to kind of decompress and try my best to turn it off as much as possible, because whether I had a great day at work or whether I had a terrible day at work, my son shouldn't see any type of reflection of that. So when I get home, I gotta I gotta brush the dirt off my shoulders, and I gotta be Superman when I walk in the door, because now I got a kid that doesn't attend the school that's dependent on me even more so than the kids that are there. So, man, you know, as far as depression goes, I mean, you can't turn it off, man. I remember one year I had a kid, the sweetest girl ever, man, and her mom died in the middle of the night. Just was in the kitchen and just fell flat and died. And she called me in the middle of the night. I mean, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I immediately sat up in the bed. And I'll never forget the feeling that I had in my stomach. It was like I lost my mother just hearing that girl weep like that. And when you're passionate about what you do, and you do this because you love it, not because of a check, because none of us are getting paid what we deserve to get paid.
Preach.
None of us are getting paid what we deserve to get paid. But when you're passionate about it because it's just what you genuinely love to do, there is no turning that stuff off, because that's my daughter. You know, I don't have a biological daughter, but that's my daughter that's hurting. And when she's hurting, I'm hurting. And when I come to school and I see her walking around the hall and she just doesn't look happy, you know, you may not notice, but that stuff just eats up at you little by little by little. And the kids like, oh, Mr. Bruhz, we don't have water right now. Our electricity's turned off. You know, I'm not an incompassionate dude. So stuff like that, it eats up at you little by little. Mr. Bruhz, my dad was beating up my mom yesterday and I had to get in between them. All of that stuff, it just eats up at you little by little. So I have to find ways of having an outlet that's not band, because band is my outlet, and that's not really relieving the stress. And man, honestly, it started being my grass. I could come home, I put headphones on with Pandora in, cut on me some D-Train, and I cut my grass. And at that point in time, it's just me. I'm just enjoying life. I'm enjoying sunshine and cutting the grass. And those moments are just refreshing for me. And you gotta have something that you do outside of band to kind of take your mind off of it, so you can get a sense of refreshment, so you can start over and try it again, you know?
Yeah, and I'm gonna piggyback on Brother Bruhz was saying. I'm just gonna go and keep real. I'm gonna put my business out there. Band had gotten so stressful for me at one time where I had to go and get me some pills. I talked to my doctor about it, and I told him what I did for a living. He cussed. He said, man, I'm gonna get you something to calm you down. I take anxiety pills right now, and I deal with anxiety. And like I said, it all comes from, because you're more than a band director to these kids. You become almost like their father. I actually have kids that call me pops, call me uncle. And like I said, yeah, you're dealing with kids that are coming to you telling you, okay, my lights are cut off. I don't have anything to eat at home. Not supposed to do this, but you have to take kids home. When you take kids to the house, the mama's on the other side of town with the preacher. Or I've had that situation too, like Brother Bruhz was saying, had a child call me in the middle of the night. His stepdad had jumped on his mama. He done sprung on the stepdad. Then the mama put him out the house, so I had to go and try to find him somewhere to go sleep at for the night. You deal with all that kind of stuff. And like I said, you have to find you another outlet. I remember that's one of the things they told us in Shelby, Memphis City Schools at the time when I first started, that you have to have you some kind of other outlet besides band. My mom worked in special ed for 35 years. And one thing she used to tell me, she said, when you leave that school, make sure that you leave your work at that school building and you come back and pick it up the next day. Well, we can't do this, band directors. We can't. Because even now, like I said, I consider myself to be a better situation. These kids are going to find you. They're going to network your phone number. They're going to stalk you on Facebook. If they knew you live it, they probably come knock on your door. You're more than a band director. You become their father. You become, I don't like to use the term friend, but you become a mentor. So it's real hard to detach yourself from their job. And like I say, our friends will tell me all the time, you need to quit being so something about your job, so passionate about the job. It's hard to do. It is hard to do. And like I said, it drove me to the point where I'm popping pills now. So don't let it take you there.
Hey, Bruhz, man, it's to the point now, man, I can't even listen to music, man. Because you know what's going to happen when I start listening to music. Oh, that'd be a cool horn line. Yeah. Oh, I hear my trombones on that. Oh, I hear my flutes, my woodwinds, and my brain goes into arranging mode when I'm trying to listen to, whether it's classical music or jazz, my brain just always takes me to the arranging pose. So I have, if you follow me on Facebook, man, I like building stuff with wood and cutting. I got RV. I like to go fish. I have to just to get completely away from it? And Kelly, you on here. Go ahead, jump in, because I don't think you said anything so far, Kelly.
Oh yeah. Joe knows. He sees me many mornings and afternoons, man. I mean, I run around the neighborhood. I jump rope in front of the house before school. I play music. These are some of the outlets that I definitely use to reduce stress. And sometimes, yeah, you got to detach yourself from your job. So I definitely do that from a coaching standpoint. To go back to one of the, I guess, questions earlier, one thing I believe in is coaching what you got, directing what you got. So if you got a 10-piece band, make that 10-piece band the best 10-piece band that those kids can be. And believe in what you do. The kids believe in who they are and what they're doing. And then the rest is what it is. So be as good as you could be. Don't worry about what other people are doing or as good as other people are. Be the best that you can be. And so I definitely know the feeling of having a team or whatnot that went to the state, and we're at the bottom. We're towards the bottom of the list, and then work your way from the bottom of the list to the top of the list. And you didn't go out and recruit nobody. You worked with what you got. You made what you got the best that they could be, and gave those kids the best experience that they can have. But you definitely have to detach yourself and do what you can do. So I've done all those things from a band director standpoint. The same things that I did as a band director, I've done as a coach, taking kids home. I bought a van when I was a band director. I bought this Dodge Ram, 14-passenger van. Whenever I drove that van, more kids jumped in that van because the kids like riding in the van. It'd take me an hour to drop the kids off in that van because they like riding in the van. And so I would pile those kids up and take them places. Just do what you can do. I always believe in that. And sometimes you do have to detach yourself from your work. So definitely exercise is a good one. Like I said, I play music. All my kids know at any school I've been at, whether I was they say he's the gym teaching trumpet player. Now I'm playing that trumpet in the gym. I'm playing that trumpet in the classroom. And that's playing music is one of my stress relievers, period. So yeah, we got to detach ourselves and just do what we can do.
And see, here's the thing, brother. I respect that, but I can't even use playing music as a stress reliever because I play piano too. I play piano at two churches. So I'll be there, we'd be in choir rehearsal, and I'll be like, yeah, everything cool. And then we'd be playing, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, it's a blow. Let me see, that'll be the B tones right there. Next thing, and my mind automatically shift. I'm like, oh, I did it again. I can't cut it off. You know,
yeah, I feel you.
My wife has a term for it. She calls it banding. Banding is a verb. And she'll just see me. I kind of be off on the days, and she'd be like, baby, you banding, ain't you? I'm like, I'm sorry. We'd be sitting down at dinner, and I hear a song playing over the speakers in the restaurant, and I'll just be, she'd be like, stop it, you banding. My bad. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, I got it. I get you.
Yeah, I just got through telling my girl, I said, sometimes I really need to just lay in silence in a silent room because I start hearing stuff. I start hearing band stuff. And I want to put it on a horn. Man, I just got to put it on a horn. And next thing you know, McComb about to be playing something. It's about to be a mess. Because I'm like, ooh, the trumpet's going to be sounding nice playing that. Ooh, the trombone's going to be nice. Ooh, man, I want to arrange. And I'm like, nope. I need it silent. Got to be silent.
That's good to know. I'm not the only person that's hearing songs and writing drills.
Shoot, can't do it.
But let me jump into it. Again, I'm just going to jump on some other questions. Yeah, I'll always feel free to come back and jump in on something else. But when I wrote this question, and I was thinking of one person in mind. I'll tell you after the question. Okay, if you have one tuba player in your band, and that tuba player gets involved with an argument with his parent or another teacher, or something like that, the day before your biggest rival football game, one tuba getting polluted with a teacher or a parent. Now the teacher's like, well, I'm gonna let you handle it. And the parent's like, well, I'm gonna let you handle it. How would you handle this situation? And I'm gonna preface this. I made this, of course, Shaw High School. I saw a video, I don't know if it was last year or year before last.
No percussion.
With no percussion. And I was like, man, I was like, okay. I wrote that question down at that very moment, man. So either Brooks, I saw you had your hands up first, and Don John, or will one of y'all jump in, or how do you handle that situation?
I got to do this real fast because my story is directly tied towards Joe and Don Shine. So, Joe, the last Maplewood Battle of the Bands you had, man, it broke my heart. I had a section of 12 trombone players, had 12 bones, and the day before, they did something stupid at practice. And I was like, we can go in there and we can try to be Mr. Macho Man and show off at this Battle of the Bands, or I can teach these kids a valuable lesson. And I literally showed up. We had 4 trombones perform, and I made the other 8 walk behind the band carrying waters. And it was one of the toughest things I had to do. But after it was over, I was like, man, that was the best decision I could have ever made, because it really, really did something for those kids. And the exact same thing happened, I would say 3 days before Shaw's competition. I called Don Shines and I was freaking out. I was like, oh man, look, we coming down there with 5 trombones, and it's terrible because I got 3 firsts, 1 second, and 1 third. And he was like, you got what? And there was nothing that I can do. I really had to teach these kids a lesson. But each time I've had to do something like that, as much as it tore me up inside, it actually ended up being such a great decision that I erred on the side of morals as opposed to the side of being, I don't know, I guess I want to say being arrogant, you know, and wanting to perform at a high level. But man, it's so important that the kids understand these values and these morals, because if they don't, you end up affecting the program even more later on, because they do stuff and they do it without fear. They're like, oh, I can do whatever I want to. I ain't gonna worry about it. I'm still gonna perform. You ain't gonna say nothing to me. So man, that's another sensitive one for me, man. To have 12 bones and to show up at a Battle of the Bands with 4, oh man, that hurt me. And one of them was my drum major. I slapped that Aquafina in her hand. So here, carry this, girl. Had to. It just had to be done.
Man, I would have to write a book. We don't have that much time. Yeah, I could tell a whole bunch of them, but particularly what Shelton is talking about that show. We went to Trotwood and we did a show with no percussion. My percussion got to the point where I'm a percussionist. So they got to the point where they got too arrogant. And they just was doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff, not showing up to practice and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, see you bye. So I had 1 snare drum, and I built, you know, I'm always trying to be creative. So I built my show, because really when you marching, man, you know, if you got a great, you know, most of you got, well, it's 2 percussionists on here that I know of, but you don't want to hear your drum line. You want to feel it. You know, you want them to accompany the band. So really you wasn't gonna, and we were gonna be in the gym anyway. So I said, well, all they need to hear is the 1 and 3 or the 2 and 4 on the snare drum, you know, just to keep the tempo. So I surrounded the show around 1 snare drum, just keeping him in the center. But he was so used to playing with everybody else, he was afraid. So I was practicing and practicing. I was like, we still had to compete for the caption award for the drum line. So I gave him a solo. I said, look, I need you to hit this solo, boom, keep it in the pocket. You know, I had him playing on whatever, you know, and he got so afraid. So, you know, so he wanted to pretty much negate his ability to play, so that he thought that I would then bring in at least a bass drum. And I wouldn't do it. I said, so you're not gonna do it? Matter of fact, I'll do it with none of y'all. So now I got the band looking at me crazy, like, man, what you doing? And I said, I got this. Don't worry about it. I ain't gonna lead y'all nowhere wrong. I got y'all. They didn't realize it. When out of our frustrations a lot, mistakes end up being some of our strong points, or things are, ways that we're able to achieve greatness, or, success rather. So as they were practicing in the gym floor without the drum line, I heard them marching. And so they was already keeping tempo with they marching. I'm like, well, we're gonna be on the gym floor. That's gonna be the sound that I need for that percussion, just that tempo. So man, I did it without them, man. And I brought a snare and a bass drum, because we have to march in sometimes. And the judges didn't even know. They were coming up after we performed and said, hey, somebody said y'all ain't have no drum line out there. I said, we did. So it made me kind of like, well, who was the percussion judge that didn't know that? But yeah, man, that's what happened, man. It was a hard pill to swallow. But at certain times, man, I won't let the kids know that they got me or they winning, man, because ultimately I'm the band director, and it's not an ego thing, but it's just, you're dealing with kids, and those hard lessons that we have to, teach every day, every minute, every moment. I mean, it's hurtful, it's stressful. And as we piggyback on that, no, I ain't gonna go there with the stress, but I'll come back there afterwards. But I just want to answer that question, because I want something to say, just to be transparent, especially to my men who have significant others or wives like that. I want to just, share some things and be transparent about that. But on that competition at Trotwood, yeah, we did. I had to sit them down, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Hey, but that really boosts your whole program up, because even the crowd did notice that it was no percussion. So that really made it epic. You know what I'm saying? That really made people sit there and think like, wow, they did a whole show with no drummers. So man, kudos to that one. You know what I'm saying? That one go down in history. I ain't never seen that one myself. So kudos on that one, brother.
You always have to do what you have to do, man. And and that's just the way I was taught, just like now, man down, man up. I was getting ready this year. I mean, well, not this year, but the last year we were at Mardi Gras, my mellophone section was acting up. And I only had 4. So I said, don't get it, man. I go down there with no mellophones. I'll switch up a few parts. My trumpets, I try to keep all of my kids versatile on an instrument. So any time that I can put another kid on an instrument, and that's how I keep, my rebuilding. Because I may have a trumpet player that's been playing trumpet for 3 years. He understands, or she understands, the musicality that we need. I may have to put them on the sousaphone. I may have to put my cymbal player on the mellophone. So we try to keep it versatile, and that's been the success pretty much of the band. You may seen a kid on the drum line this year, next year he playing a tube. I may have a matter of fact, I had a trombone player one year, and she ended up being the dancer the next year, and ultimately became my dance captain. So I mean, I try to keep them versatile, man, because you never know, man. Just like Will came up here with, it was a situation where, we all men on here, man, we deal with situations where, unfortunately, some of their fathers end up looking at us like we're strange. You know what I'm saying? Because the kids look up to us, and they kind of get intimidated by that. And it's like, man, I'm just trying to help you I'm trying to help you raise your kid the best way that I can while I have them. I'm not taking away from you. I'm enhancing what you're doing at home. But, I get a lot of fathers look at me like, and I get it from all angles, man. And that's frustrating. Again, I'm gonna come back to that stressful situation, depression, and all that probably towards the end. I'm gonna mute myself because I don't want to take over.
Go ahead. Anybody else jump in?
Okay, so I think what messed me up about this topic right here is that when I was coming up as high school, and shout out to Benjamin McKnight Jr., by the way, that was my high school band director from 98 to 2002. And he brought me up in a huge band. But I've seen that, I've seen him cut down those numbers from being huge to not as huge. And also if he needed to, he'd only bring about 20 or 30 of them somewhere just to perform. And they pretty much sound the same. You know, like it didn't matter how many of them he brought somewhere, it'd still sound like Southfield. And to tell the truth, when he first got there, it was only 30. It was only 30, and he still got the tapes of when it was only 30. And how he changed that program around, and they became real solid after that. And so they did that real big boost. And so after that, after all that recruitment and stuff, man, like, you know, that's where you wanted to be. You wanted to be in that band program. But also he made sure that we knew that, hey, look, you was expendable. Like, you was expendable. Like, if you don't want to be here, you can get out the door. And like, the door is over there. Go and walk out. And then going from that to to Edward L. Graves, and we all know Prof. Those us Prof Graves, man. Like, you don't like it? Go on, get your degree, get your own damn band program. You know, because you know how Prof is. It'll take 16 of the marchingest, plainest jokers that you ever seen before in your life, and it'll sound better than anybody. And he meant it. You know, that's what he meant. He said what he meant. He meant what he said. So he didn't care if it was 160 or 16. It was what it was. So we just, you know, that mentality was just ingrained in us. So like, by the time I came out, like, I kicked out tuba players. I literally went to a parade in Memphis to where I left people and only came out to a parade with 6 people. With 6 people at a parade. 6 people. And I'm not lying. This parade, I want to say, was where was this parade at? Where was this parade? This parade was at Fraser. I went to a parade in Fraser with 6 people. Knowing that at that point in time, Manassas band was closer to about 22. And only went with 6. Didn't even care. And that might have been the most fun I ever had at the parade. And that might have been the most fun them kids had at the parade. And Joe didn't care. And that sent a real hard message after that. Because it's like, hey, you know, you either get with the program or get left. Get right or get left. You know,
can I piggyback on something and kind of play a devil's advocate right here? Okay, so another situation I ran into, yeah, you don't want your kids to hold you by the balls, you know, excuse my language for saying it like that, and telling you how to run your program. But this is just kind of like, I guess, a question I'm asking too. What do you do in situations where if you know the kid personally, you know the parent has a problem with the kid, the parent decides that they want to come and tell you some bull crap about the kid that's not true, or you got a teacher that's hating on the kid, and the teacher decides they want to come tell you some stuff about the kid that's not true because they know you're going to chew your butts out. Because I've kind of seen that happen in my career to a kid, you know, a teacher going to start. I always teach my kids not to talk back, but I've seen situations where teachers will start picking at a kid. And yeah, you're not supposed to be disrespectful to the teacher, but I look at it like this: kids are people too, and there's only so much they're gonna be able to take before they, you know, get that breaking point.
This is what I tell Mr. Beard. I've had that situation several times, especially when it came to my auxiliary majorette tryouts. I have young ladies that would try out and they would come and they would be pretty good, you know, and I might not know the young lady. And so I'll pull up their discipline report and to see if there have been any referrals or anything, discipline problems. Then we'll put out of a list, and then we'll have teachers that'll say, hey, I heard you pick such and such. She, you don't need to have her on your squad because she blah, blah, blah. He, blah, blah, you know, she did this, that, and the other, you know, and I was like, and I tell teachers like this, and then I tell the student straight up and say, hey, look, come here. Now, there are other teachers that are saying that you displayed this type of behavior. Now, you haven't displayed that behavior with me. So here's your opportunity to change the narrative of what's on you out there. Now, if you're going to be a part of this band, I'm going to expect you to be this certain way. Now, if you show me any signs of what this teacher is talking about, then we're going to have to deal with that. So, you know, and that has happened several times, but I tell a kid, if I haven't personally experienced that behavior or seen it with me, because I've seen kids that'll cuss another teacher out in a heartbeat and wouldn't dare say that around me. And, you know, so I let them know that, you know, and you just have to handle each situation. You know, you can't group them all in one big bucket. So you have to handle each situation and just let them know, hey, this is not going to be tolerated. And anybody else can jump in on that. Or any other question or anything.
Well, you know, I've dealt with that also, so I can definitely feel you. There was a time where I just had to tell, you know, the teachers that, you know, the teachers would, you know, for instance, I would walk down the hallway and the teacher would pull me to the side, or before I can even get into the building. I don't know, it's like I was a magnet or something, man. They would just like feel when I would pull up at the school. And I got teachers meet me at the door, you know, little Johnny did this or so-and-so doing that. And they would want me to come in their class and see, which sometimes I did. But what I had to tell them is that if I come in your class to correct a behavior, that's lessening your ability to manage your classroom. And I said, I don't want to do that. I said, but what you know, so what I would do, man, I would just try to show, you know, give the teacher or that particular teacher some pointers on how to handle that student. But I try not to, as Shelton said, I try not to judge a kid off of what another teacher said, you know. But I mean, if I had if a kid got a reputation from everybody, then that's different. But more than likely, a lot of our kids, man, you know, in our programs, most of them, a lot of the kids that I have, man, they, you know, because of the way I run my program and the management there, they don't say a word in there because I don't give them real opportunity to speak too much because we're always practicing, you know what I mean? So I had to deal with that, you know, a lot of times with those type of kids. But as Shelton said, you know, when a kid come into the program, whatever you did before, you on ground zero with me. So again, you know, so I again change that narrative, you know, and you try to show them what they did wrong or teach them how to handle those situations again. Because we as adults go through the same things that they go through. We just adults, you know, and you guys know, all of you all see how teachers can get against you, administration can get against you only because you're doing a job at a level that I guess they want to achieve in their classroom or whatever. So I mean, I've dealt with it all, man, from parents to teachers to administration to everybody. So, you know, I just, you know, a wise man told me to put a little polyester in your suit, man, because the hate is going to come as long as you're doing something great. And you just put a little polyester and allow them to bounce off of you, man. So, you know, as long as you're going to have a successful program and you're moving kids in a direction of success, you're going to get it from both angles. I've had teachers who have gotten together And I'm just telling you, not what I heard, what I know, have gotten together to try to take the band out because, I was graduating kids at the top of their class. Um, the success rate of the kids going to colleges and universities was higher than our graduation and success rate at the high school. I had the biggest parent organization on the campus. Just a lot of great things was going on. And instead of them coming and seeing what I'm doing and try to ask how I'm doing it, they start hating, man. So I had a group of teachers that was out to get the kids. Now I had kids who were like the top of their class, 4.0, 3.0 students that were just failing them on purpose or trying to make their academics even more harder, man, judging them harder than the other kids. But I'm a believer. Brooks know that. We talk about the higher power, and I could never take the credit of doing anything that I've accomplished alone, man. It's always a greater than me, man. So I just been following the steps that's ordered for me, man. And when those people get in my way, they're not getting in my way. They getting in the way of God's work, man. And so those people kind of just fall by the wayside. And I was just talking to Will. We just had a conversation not too long ago, and I was saying now empathy sets in when people, I'm not trying to spook anybody out, but because, I'm saying I'm been in it a long time, man, and been seeing it. So the wisdom is there. Now, when I see people that are trying to attack what I'm doing when I'm doing something positive and not hurting anybody, I start to feel sorry for them. It's only like, man, if they only knew, what's getting ready to happen to them because of they're trying to stop the work of not me, but they're trying to stop the work of something greater than I am. East Cleveland, look it up on the map, man. We're probably one of the poorest cities out there. A few years ago, we were ranked as one of the poorest cities. So when people see us, they don't think that we're from the hood. They think that we're, a high caliber city and, our kids are all bougie and things like that. But no, man, East Cleveland on the map, high crime rate, drug rate. We're trying to improve, but at the same time, it is what it is. But, my motto is never let, your environment dictate your outcome, man. So
it's safe to say that we've all had that teacher that come up to us and say, Mr. Brooks, Mr. Shelton, little Johnny shouldn't march this game today because they were chewing gum in my class, and I don't think they deserve to march this game tonight.
The killer with that is I sent out a schedule the beginning of the year. So everybody know where we're going and what we're doing. They always come at me like that the day before a competition or right ones, especially before we go to Mardi Gras, man. When we go to Mardi Gras, it's like I got notes in my mailbox when I come into school, like, hey, this kid, and then they come up to you. I don't think Don Sean should go to Mardi Gras because he looked at me crazy in the classroom. He rolled his eyes or she smacked her lips at me. And I'm like, this is an opportunity for this kid from this inner city to go somewhere that they have never went before. And you talking about the things that they're saying, it doesn't make sense to me. And so I don't pay it any attention, man. Kids, they will get suspended and things like that. And it's the way that they got suspended. They didn't do their homework. So, I went to the principal, so they're getting suspended. Those kids are going to Mardi Gras with me. They're going to Will Brooks competition. They're going to Trotwood. It's on the weekend also. We're going. And so I deal with those kids, but I don't deal with them the way that they want me to. So those kids may go on the trip. So I want to be clear. They may go on the trip, but the consequences that I'm going to give them is going to far outweigh them being suspended, getting a free pass to be at home for 3 days, not doing anything, smoking, sexing, or doing whatever they can get into. So I got 3 days for them. I've gotten kids suspended. Don't send them home. Let them come to school every day. But they're working with the cafeteria staff. They're working with the custodians. They're cleaning the walls. They're taking out the trash. So I'm doing it like that, man. And it teaches them not only to demean them, but it also teaches them a sense of responsibility. While you throwing your trash on the floor from the cafeteria, you see what it means for that custodian to have to come behind you and pick it up because now you're picking it up. So it gives them a greater appreciation for other people's works that they probably don't value. So I try to handle it that way.
I love that, man. I'm gonna have to steal that from you, man. That humbling to bring down one's pride and dignity, and that right there, I'm gonna have to use that one.
For some reason, parents think when they tell their kid they can't go to practice or they can't do a performance, it's really go tear the kid up. When you tell them that they can't do that, that's one thing that's really gonna motivate them to do even worse. But to tell them they can't, that you go miss practice, no, send them to practice, because once they come to practice, then I get a hand on them. That's not what they really want. And then to piggyback on as far as teachers, Brother Wilson, the biggest thing is that it's classroom management that the teacher don't have. You know what I'm saying? Now teachers are coming to me and say, well, Mr. Sheldon, this kid is doing that. Why is your classroom this way? Why is the band quiet? Why aren't you yelling? I'm not yelling because they respect me. I have a relationship with those kids. All I have to do is put up a hand, and I'm sure all y'all do as well, put up a hand, then it's dead silence. Part of what the teachers do, they have a problem with yelling at the kids. I'm not gonna yell at the kids. I'm not gonna yell at that particular student. I'm gonna tell that child to come up here, talk to me real quick, tell them what the issue is, and then we're done. What they don't understand is when you yelling at the kid in front of a classroom, that kid is instantly go put his guards up because you not go hold me in front of my friends. Right now, at this point, it's me against you. So once they realize that, they're really causing the problem, not the kid. The kid would bow down and be quiet if you just tell that kid to come talk to me instead of trying to, you know what I'm saying, front that kid in front of all of his friends. The teachers really got to learn how to control their class and their emotions as well. So once that happens, things will be better.
Exactly. To piggyback on what Brother Shelton said, it's a management situation. It's a common thing. That's a common thing that's going on. It's a management situation and respect situation. Building relationships, things that we learn in band programs, and this is something that's not happening, and for whatever reason, I don't, me personally, I don't try to pry in other teachers' business. You know, I'll tell people all the time when I go into my band hall, I'm hiding in my little hidey hole. You know, I don't feel like fooling with nobody else outside the band hall unless I have to. You know, when I do, I talk to everybody, but that tends to be the situation when, especially with the high school students. You know, those teachers will come up and then they'll say this scholar rather, shouldn't be able to perform because they did something petty. I mean, let's just call it what it is. There's always something petty, right? And, you know, when they start explaining it, it's always something petty. I say, okay, I'll put that into consideration. I put that into consideration. Now just keep it moving, because I honestly don't have time for it. I don't have time for it. I consider the teachers' feelings. I might have a talk with the student. Now, if this is a habitual thing, like with more than one teacher, that's something else. Then this is something that we do have to have some sort of consequence with. But outside of that, I'm not about to do anything to a student the day before a performance or during a performance to pull them out when the teacher knows good and well that that's what we about to do. Because that's about the most spiteful thing that you can do. You know, and I'm not bred like that. Whatever teacher's bred like that doesn't need to be.
And I guess my thing is too, you know, when you got a child in your English class and they come to my band class, they ain't practice their music, they're not showing up. I don't come down there and tell you, well, you need to give Lavisha an F because she ain't doing what she's doing band. So who the hell are you to come tell me?
Amen. Preach, brother.
Performing my band?
Preach.
Who are you?
Speak it. Speak it.
Yes,
Hell,
sir.
I ain't got no Nichols kids anyway, and you trying to come down there and take the few I got. So, nah.
Speak it.
When it comes to also discipline, I think we all probably do a great job with discernment. And what I mean by that is I had some of my students from my percussion section had well, a couple of my trombone players came to me, and you know, they were called to the office. Everybody got, you know, of course they're gonna call you, say, hey, your band student's about to fight, and I had to pull them apart. So by me being director of communications and technology, I had access over the camera systems in the district. So the student said, well, this kid threw some those little tacks, you know, the little map tacks, you know, threw some tacks in her face.
Damn.
And I'm sitting there like, no, I know he didn't do that. And she like, Mr. Wilson, he did. And that's why I punched him and I was going, you know, whatever. So I was sitting there and I'm like, I couldn't believe the guy did it. These you know, these two, you know, drummers. So I went and looked at the video and I'm like, dang. And I slowed it down. But these, now, this may be a lesson. These were some guys, you know how you got those kids in the band that they pretty much, for the student aspect, run the program. You know what I mean? So everybody listens to them. They can't do no wrong. They're just, you know, they was probably like we were in the program when we were in school, but we were more positive. You know, these kids kind of do it in a negative way. So I was like, my problem was, man, and we had our first, this is like our second game. And I said, well, I can't discipline them now because I have to get them in a situation where, because if I put them out, the band would have been looking at me because they came, I asked them what happened. I didn't do that, Mr. Wilson. I would never do that. You know, she lying on me, you know, and everybody was like, because the one of the young ladies had she was one of those troublemakers also. So she was always fighting, getting suspended or whatever. You know, she was one that was known to have hands even from the elementary school. So everybody was giving, you know, they were kind of leaning to she was lying. So when I saw the video, I said, well, man, how can I do this? Because if I discipline them now, I'm not, because I always try to think of the overall situation, how it's going to impact everybody, not just always trying to be, you know, I always try to put myself in a situation to make every situation a learning experience. So I had 5 bass drummers this year. This is the biggest drum section I ever had. I had like 7 snares, 5 bass drums, you know, maybe 6 cymbals, and I don't know, whatever else I had in the band. So we kind of rolling. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, how can I discipline these guys? So I asked them, I said, well, I'm gonna make a long story short. I came to the band room. This is maybe 3 weeks later. It was right before Will Brooks competition. When it was cold out there, I think your first one, it was real cold and we was out there. It was cold as heck out there in Nashville. And I only brought 3 bass drummers because I said, I need to get them where it's gonna hurt. So I had to wait a whole month. And I came in the band room and I was like, you know, one of the guys went to say, I'm playing Return of the Mac. You know, I try to play music in the band room before we start practice to kind of, you know, whatever the kids was going through, because they go through a lot. So I'm just trying to ease their mind. So I'm playing Return of the Mac and I'm playing little stuff on the TV screen through my computer. And I don't know if you guys remember the scene from Boys in the Hood. No, Menace to Society. When Bill Duke was like, you said you bought the bottle of beer at 11 o'clock. You know you fucked up, right? You know you messed up, right? You know, so I was playing that and the kids, I'm playing Return of the Mac. No, you lied to me, whatever. Kids like, Mr. Wilson, we gonna play that? The bass drummer said that. I said, matter of fact, we are gonna play that. I was like, by the way, what was that situation you was in with that little girl? And they was like, yeah, I wouldn't do that. And the kids was like saying, no, they didn't do that. I had it already pulled up on the computer. We got 2 screens in our band room. I pulled it up on the computer, man, and just played it. And the kids, the whole band they saw it in person. and they were just like, they mouth dropped. I had them. And I suspended them. You know, that right then and there, I was like, you would never march in here. You know, I gave him the 3rd degree. One kid, man, he left. The other kid, he walked out and punched the wall and bust his whole hand up, man. I mean, he had everything. He broke his wrist and everything. But the fact was, man, the point I was making was sometimes as directors or educators, we have to have that discernment. We can't just always just react to a situation right then and there, because it wouldn't have been meaningful if I, you know, suspended them there, because everybody wanted to go to Hunter's Lane. That was the talk. Everybody wanted to go to Nashville. So I had to get them where it hurt, man. So I started strategically practicing the band without them, you know, or doing little things while they on the field. They don't know them, but I'm really looking at my 3 and positioning those 3 guys on the field instead of the 5 in a way that I knew I wasn't going to use them anymore. So just you know, a little wisdom out there, man. You know, sometimes just have that discernment to, sometimes you got to hold that trump card, they call it, and pull it out when it's time to pull it out.
Nice. Man, and here's I know it's 8:53, so we can go as long as y'all want to. You know, we can get ready to close it up. But here's a question or a statement that I've seen us, and I say skin folk, my African American directors sort of go to war over either on one side of the fence or the other. And this is marching band all year, good or bad. And I'm gonna preface this by saying that, you know, I'm literally, I'll say this. I'll say the playing of marching band music is all year. You know, basketball season, basketball team go to stadium, want a pep band. So you're gonna basically, and when somebody asks for the band to come and play, they're not asking for your concert festival piece to come play. They want to hear marching band stuff. So the playing of band music is all year. But there are a group of directors who turn their nose up and they say the spring semester should leave Mardi Gras alone. It's enough band. Don't do that, Mardi Gras. You should be 100% into concert band and jazz band in the spring semester. That's where the bands are built and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other, and da, 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 da. And I'm like, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I'm gonna chime in. You got to do what works for your band program. I don't know if I said this at first, but I went to Overton High School in Memphis, Performing Arts High School. We did marching band, core style, but we concert. It was our focus. Like somebody told me, a B flat is a B flat, whether you're playing Bach or Boosie. Matter of fact, I got called out. That was something that Andre Newsom said. A B flat is a B flat. Long as your kids are learning, long as they are progressing, long as they get a good experience. Let me see how I'm gonna say this.
But Mr. Beard, you know, I completely agree. But there's some people that'll say that, you know, you should put Boosie up and you should be playing Bach. That is the well-rounded musician. So
I don't disagree with that. And I don't disagree with that. I'm a person, I believe in doing concert band. I believe in going to festival, whatever like that. But okay, so this is another thing I'm gonna use too. You got some programs, we're gonna even include our other counterparts, where they're primarily march band programs. I know of some core style programs where they are doing march band all year long. In November, they're going to Bands of America. In December, they're going to the Rose Bowl and they're going to Macy's. They come back in February, play a couple of grade 4 pieces, and they are right back planning for their show for the next season. Why is nothing said to those band programs? But if one of our band programs decided we want to do Battle of the Bands, and we want to, in February, we may shut down and do a little bit of concert band and come back and do floor show season, all of a sudden it's not a good band program. You have to do what works for your band. Because like I said, some bands are primarily marching bands. You got some bands where they do just enough marching band to get their feet wet. And they do a concert band all year long. From my experience of teaching in inner schools, I remember, I just don't call school out again because I'm not there anymore. Kirby, I walked in and I said concert band. I heard a little echo from the back. What's concert band? Huh? You know what concert band is? So I had to kind of brainwash the kids and introduce them to it, but I knew that's not something I could do all year. And even where I am right now, in the middle of a pandemic, at Clarksdale High School, I'm doing concert band. Them kids hate concert band. They loathe it, man. And some of them have been bold enough to tell me, but you know what? They're learning music just out of respect for me. And out of me telling them, okay, look, if you want to get good, if you want to sound like the Tennessee States and Jackson States, you're going to have to do this facet of music. I've even gone as far, and I'm kind of going off topic right now, but I've even gone as far as with my kids to show them the different colleges and their concert bands. I show a clip of Southern University blowing down the walls of Jericho or something, and I show Southern University playing Festival Overture. I show Jackson State playing Ham or Who Do I Turn To? I show Jackson State playing Symphonic Metamorphosis. I show Tennessee State playing Regulate or whatever else. Then I have another clip of Tennessee State playing Rocky Point Holiday. So I try to make sure that they understand the purposes behind it. But like I said, you have to do what works for your program. And if you got one of those programs where you got to keep marching all year long to keep your kids going, again, my favorite phrase of tonight, who the hell am I to say something about it? Who am I to judge you? Because you got something out there.
Okay, just piggybacking on Brother Beard, and also just to give y'all a geographical idea of where I'm located. I'm in Macomb, Mississippi, and this isn't my first time teaching here. This is actually my second time, all right? And I got to give y'all an idea of where this is. This is an hour and a half outside of New Orleans. There is no way in hell that you shut down marching band an hour and a half outside of New Orleans. And I hope y'all understand that. You'll get shot in the foot for doing that. Are any of y'all shutting down a marching band near New Orleans? Honestly. Anybody on the Zoom about to do that? Yeah, anybody on the Zoom gonna do that? I just want to know. Anybody on the Zoom gonna do that?
Oh no, not at all. And I think
because now look, I'm gonna tell you this, and this is serious. This is the least amount of parades down here that we ever had to do. And that's because of a pandemic. All right, let's get that straight. Now, however, we are in Mississippi. So with that being said, they expect a concert band. And not only that, we are evaluated based upon our concert band. We are also evaluated based upon that marching band going to state festivals. Those are two of the evaluations that happen with us for the fall and for the spring. But there is no way in hell that you ever shut down that marching band. That marching band is going to move like clockwork all year. And that to teach you how to manage your program. Because what you're doing is you starting that marching band and you are teaching kids how to polish up some songs and all kinds of stuff and how to polish up their sound throughout the year. And you teaching them rhythms. You teaching them how to be better musicians throughout the course of the year. And if you pulling out some concert band music, that better be some great concert band music. You better catch them. You better catch their ear. Because you pull out some boring shit, you ain't gonna look. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. That's all I got to tell you. Good luck. In fact, you're gonna keep your job.
I think one of the things, just coming from being in Texas, it's very, especially on the core side, it's based upon, everything is UIL and things like that. And I agree that you have to do what's best for your program. But also on the flip side of that, what I've also found, because even in Memphis or even in Nashville, concert band was a part of what I did. And so I think your kids naturally, they take on the persona, your band takes on the persona of the band director. So if you're interested in those things, your kids will become interested in those things. Like here at the school, I'm a tuba player. So I've never done jazz band. So jazz band is not my thing, but they have jazz band here. So it's definitely something I had to go back and kind of do some things with. But the band takes on the persona of the band director. So I do think that the techniques and fundamentals are applicable no matter what you're teaching, whether it's marching band music or whether it's concert band music. But I think from what I'm seeing from the other side of people that don't look like us, what comes into question is your ability as a teacher. And I'm not saying that you're not a great teacher or not a great band director because you do marching band all year round. But I'm just saying what I've experienced in Texas from people who don't look like us is, okay, well, you didn't do marching band all the time in undergrad. So what did you learn in undergrad? So then those types of conversations seem to happen. So I do think it's important to do what's best for your band, but I do think it's also important to the craft and for us as Black educators, music educators, that we teach our students to be holistic. Because if you send your kid to Southern, Jackson, UAB, Tennessee State, all of those programs have concert band programs. So if you're only focusing on the marching band aspect, then you are in turn doing a detriment to the student who potentially wants to go to their university, but then also to the university. So if you got a kid that plays French horn, but has never played a real French horn, a concert French horn, and they get to the university and are expected to play that, I mean, that's just, it's a thing. So I think it's two sides to it. Like I said, I do think you got to do what's best for your program, but I definitely think that you definitely have to have that concert band, and I mean, we just finished concert band and we right back into marching band. So it happens, but you have to be, I guess, holistic with it. It has to be everybody learning together just for the sake of, like I say, other Black educators and being able to go into a room with people that don't look like you and, them knowing that like, okay, hey, my kids can stand, toe to toe with your kids. Like even the school I teach at, even though it is what the district would consider one of the better schools, it's still it's a Title I school. Over 80% of the school is, low income. The majority of my students, probably I say 90% of the students in the band come from low income, families. So you're expected to perform on that level of counterparts that are in the suburban areas. But if you're not giving your kids that holistic aspect of teaching them marching band music and jazz band music, and well, not necessarily jazz band, but marching band, concert band music, and those applicable fundamentals that transfer from either or, then you're doing a disservice to your kids and to the collegiate programs that are going to get those kids in a few years too.
Man, I've got a pretty unique experience with that as well, because of course I went to Middle Tennessee State University, which isn't this, is this. But at the same time, I went to Osborne High School, which is probably one of the most ghettoest, toughest, roughest schools you will ever find in the city of Detroit. Like when we first started playing concert band, I'll never forget one of my best friends. He on a concert French horn. He like, hey, bro, watch this. He over here on the French horn playing, use a hoe, I said that use a. I'm like, oh my God, bro, stop, man. So when I got to MTSU, I'm experiencing absolute culture shock, because there were people in the trumpet studio, because we had a trumpet studio, that were like, oh no, I did my 1 year of marching band that's required for me to graduate. I'll never go back on the field again. My chops are, I'm not going out there and doing that to my face. So, these people frowned upon that. And then you got all the cool people that's in the band like, oh man, you can do all of that stuff. But they were so heavy into it to where, like, I'll put it this way. I went to Alabama A&M. They did marching band in the fall, concert band in the spring. I went to MTSU, where you did either symphonic band or wind ensemble year round. And in addition to that, you can do marching band. So they really just beat that into you. This is the fundamental. This is the fundamental. This is what you need to do. But all of the people that were saying this is the fundamental, this is what you need to do, never taught at a Title I school. You ain't never been to the hood. So if I'm struggling to get kids in my band program and for me to have enough trombones to play a 3-part harmony, and you come in there telling them, no, you have to do this. And they looking at you like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. Let's see how well you do in this program. You notice they don't do too. I have proof. There are living legends in my district that taught at my high school, like legends that taught at my high school that got ate up. They was in.
I know that one. Yes, sir.
And they was out of there. But when they left, they went to other places and they absolutely thrived. They did fantastic. At Hunter's Lane, oh no. So I find myself having to find the happy medium, and you have to teach not band, but teach music in everything that you do. How many of us have band music that has a rallentando in it? That's where you can teach those musical elements. How many of us has band music where we really focus on dynamics and say, hey, we need to be at a pianissimo and we need this crescendo to swell from the bottom up to get to this fortissimo. It's the same thing regardless, but marching band is that carrot that I use to dangle over my kid's head, and I prep them for it. You know, with me being a gospel keyboard player, I'm real big on playing gospel tunes. That's my niche. Like, I love playing gospel tunes with my marching band. So in my head, I'm like, all right, for concert band, we can play Amazing Grace, Frank Kelly. But in marching band, we've got these nice gospel songs that we play, and I use that to bait them. We play these gospel songs. I'm like, oh, y'all like that? All right, cool. We got concert band, but hey, I want y'all to play this song, this Amazing Grace. They know the melody to Amazing Grace because they go to a black church. So I'm putting Frank Kelly on their stands, and naturally they're interested because they know that melody. So those same things I taught them about rallentandos and dynamics and tessitura and the different colors that are produced in them, they're interested. They're like, oh man, this is pretty cool, because I'm teaching them music that relates to them, that I can do in any situation. I play Frank Kelly as a warm-up in marching band for all I care. As long as it's music and they're going to learn and they're going to develop from it, I'm cool with that. But unfortunately, marching band is that carrot that I have to dangle above their head. And I got a rule. I tell them like, hey man, you can't do marching band unless you do concert band. And they're like, for real? All right, well, shoot, I'll give it a try. And then next thing you know, they doing concert band and they're gradually falling in love with it. And I got some kids that's like, oh, Mr. Bruhz, when we gonna start doing concert band music? They start looking forward to it. So, you know, as Antoine said, they take on your demeanor, they take on your personality. If you show interest in it and you say, oh man, this is cool, listen to this. And they be like, yeah, Mr. Brooks said it's cool, so I guess it's cool. Let's listen to it. They take on that persona and they run with it. So man, you just have to teach music, but at the end of the day, it's still what's best for your program. And there is no book for that. Nobody knows what's best for your program but the person that's in your building every single day, that sees the circumstances of your kids, sees the circumstances of the administration, the community, all of those things. Nobody knows what's best for their program but you. And you have to use your discernment to decide what is the best way to approach this and how can I set my kids up for the most well-rounded music educational experience for where they'll be successful, whether they go to Belmont or whether they go to TSU, whether they go to FAMU, whether they go to Florida State. No matter where they go, music is music, and they're gonna float. You know, they're gonna thrive in whatever situation that they're in.
And I think what and it time back to at the very beginning of our conversation, I think a lot of times where concert band sort of gets treated like the stepchild is because, like we said at the beginning of the conversation, we're in the hallways pulling kids in. We're basically have beginner as, and I stole Mr. Wilson's phrase. He said, beginners to winners. We're literally have beginning band in our programs. And so going out to find appropriate literature is either going to be super grade 1 cheesy, where the kids are gonna be like, well, you know, then you might have some kids that may be able to play a variety of different level, So I think one of the issues is finding that appropriate literature for your level of program. And they've got this stuff called flex arrangements. And I tried it a couple of years ago. And I went to the festival thing, and the adjudicators told us, hey, this is not appropriate literature for this. And so that was I stepped back because that's what worked well for me based on the level of kids I had. So I think one reason that it gets treated that way, you know, most of us arrange our own marching band music, and we arrange our music to fit our kids. You know, if we got a strong trumpet or woodwind, we personally arrange our arrangements for our kids. So that's not necessarily the case with concert literature and jazz literature, where you're basically taking a stock arrangement and trying to fit it. So I think that's one issue why people are more comfortable. You know, if I have to sit down and arrange a tune, I'm more comfortable with that instead of trying to either bore some kids that are basically have skills better than this grade 1 or grade 2 whole note, half note music, and you know it's that's why it's one of those issues where it confuses you and it frustrates you because you know you want to expose them to that, but you know I might not have a kid. Like you said, if I'm playing Lil Boosie, that means I keep 30 kids in the band room. And if I'm playing Bach, I can't teach Bach to chairs. So you in between that, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Anybody else can jump in.
Well, I want to jump in on that. Well, for me, I'm just strictly the marching band director. I've been the marching, you know, like I said, I've been an administrator since '05. Been the marching band director, you know, not the concert band or the jazz band. Although I grew up, I started in '79. Percussion, concert band, wind symphony, orchestra. I played the cello in the orchestra, you know, the whole nine. But I had two. Once I went on to college and graduated, I had two professors. One is Dr. Oliver, who was my band director at Central State, who's now the band director at Alabama State. And there's another gentleman who influenced me was Paul Adams, who was at Norfolk State back in '07, I believe, when he came up to Shaw. And I brought up both of those names because the inspiration that I got from them that allowed me to not put myself in the ring that a lot of people want to put us, you know, in that ring. Under Dr. Oliver at the time at Central State, my band director then in the late '80s, going into the '90s, that's when a commercial about Michael Jordan was out, you know, the milk commercial, Be Like Mike. And, you know, everybody was trying to be like Mike, but, you know, naturally or realistically, we couldn't all be like Mike. And Dr. Oliver said to us in the band room, he said, well, why you want to be like Mike? He said, you can be like me. I'm successful. And he said, I own a home. I got 3 cars. I got money over here, da 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 da. You know, he dressed. That's where I got, you know, part of my other dress from, you know. And so I took that on to say, well, that was more approachable for me to reach. That's on a, you know, of me, an individual, personal level. But Dr. Adams came to my school to recruit some of my students. And I was telling him the deficiencies that we had. And he told me, he said, why you being so hard on yourself and what you can or can't do or what your kids can't do? He said, your job as a high school band director, he said, your job is to introduce students to music and to musical instruments. Once they get to the college level, it's our job to enhance and grow them. And by him saying that to me, that kind of eased all of the I guess that put me out of being in the circle, and that kind of eased everything for me for my students. So when Will Brooks was just talking about dynamics and all of those type of things and all the musical language and all those the techniques and things like that, I started doing that through marching band, whether it was a ballad whether it was this music that they can relate to. I always kept music a part of my program, not just playing the rap songs. And one of the songs that I got again, as I started in the beginning talking about the lesson that I was taught from Tennessee State University, Aristocrats of Band in 1989 in Cleveland, when I was at Central State, was I heard Ebb Tide. When I heard Ebb Tide, man, that just took me. So that was me using Ebb Tide as my concert band. So that's what I did as a marching band director. I taught my kids Ebb Tide, and that kind of embraced all of that concert band, like you said, a B flat can be from Bach or Bootsy Collins. You know what I'm saying? So that was my philosophy with that. So I'm just speaking from just strictly a marching band director for all those years.
And one thing I know I'm gonna try to start doing, and I admit that I'm sort of lazy on this part. When I do marching band arrangements, I don't put all a lot of the articulations. I want to try to start articulating with a lot of the terms and putting in my marching band music and format it to where it looks like a concert band piece of music. So even though it's not concert, but at least they can get used to seeing the tempo and the style and and start putting that on the music. So Mr. Shelton, what is that? So I can start incorporating some of those terms and stuff into marching band. And and I'm going to try to force myself to do that and spend a little more time arranging my marching band music like that. So to make that connection. It's 9:19 Central Time. Anybody, I know, Mr. Wills, you said you had something you want to tell about the stress relief, but anything else y'all want to say, go ahead and we get off of here so everybody can get ready for this Friday. But the floor is open for anybody to say whatever you want to talk about.
Man, I would say that for another time, man. This is my birthday weekend. I turned 51 on Saturday. So, I'm just blessed, man. I'm blessed to meet you guys and have this platform to talk about some things. And maybe on the next one, man, we can really talk about some things that we dare not talk about. But I think it's, what I've been seeing. And again, just inquiring the wisdom from other great, educators. I would love to be able to share and just to be transparent about some things that, that's really happening that we don't talk about as African-American men as it relates to our profession. So, but I'll leave that at the next time.
I got you. I'm marking that down right now.
And I want to say appreciate for allowing me to have opportunity, because I have every band director on here. I've watched your work. I've studied some stuff. I've stolen some stuff from y'all, from Shaw to Hunters Lane to Maplewood to when Walters had Melrose and Harris. That's my homeboy right there. So I'm just, I feel I'm honored to get a chance to actually sit down and talk to you all, and I guess kind of pick your brains and hear your sides of stories and see the successes of y'all's bands programs. So I just want to say I appreciate it, and I hope we will get an opportunity to do this again, because I enjoyed it. And I've learned some stuff tonight.
Likewise, brother, man. I'm just I'm blown away and honored to be on a panel with such remarkable directors, man. I know Joe mentioned something about this being informative session for some of the younger band directors. And I was in my head, I was thinking like, oh, I ain't one of the young band directors no more. Like, oh, this is cool, man. I'm honored, man. So thank you so much for even organizing this and for even considering to have me on the show, Joe. Man, I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Ron, before y'all ask, Ronald Martin, I see your comment on there, man. I got you. We got you next time. We got you. We're going to get you on here. But go ahead, Mr. Harris and Mr. Walters, Mr. Kelly. Y'all got the floor.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just want to say to all the gentlemen, all the brothers out there, man. I definitely appreciate y'all, man. I see everybody work. Brother Martin that just commented, man. I see you out there. I've with some of y'all, I've even grown up and seen y'all work, you know, up while I was at Southfield. So that says something, you know. And it's, you know, just this whole thing is a beautiful thing. It really is.
Shout out Trotwood too, because that's another band program that I have looked at and stolen a few things from myself. So got to shout that program out too. So the Red and White, man, I love looking at them. All these programs on here.
Mr. Wall?
Yeah,
Look
just
at
want
you.
to say, oh, somebody, okay. But yeah, just want to say thank you, man, brother Shelton, man. Like I say, you guys have always been big helps when I was in Nashville and even with Beard in Memphis and things like that. And so as a younger director, looking up to y'all and seeing the things that you do and watching how y'all run your rehearsals, how you're writing your music, definitely picking up some things. And then even learning some stuff for the night from some of the other cats on here. Just, man, it's really been a blessing to me. And I think more directors need to hear stuff like this. They need to hear directors have conversations, because it's a different beast when you get out there and you got to do it. So it's definitely a good thing that you did this. So appreciate you for this, and hopefully we can do it again.
Appreciate you. Who's left one? Mr. Kelly, still on there?
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. I really enjoyed listening to all the different stories and information given by the band directors. And so, man, we all in this thing together, and we got to keep on pushing. I've enjoyed listening to Hunter's Lane throughout the years. It's been remarkable. And Shaw High School, it's been remarkable. Appreciate you all coming down to Nashville. So I'm always in the mix, working with Joe, with Maplewood. Of course, I went to Maplewood and was in Maplewood band. And so had the pleasure of working with Joe Sheldon for many years, as being a staff member in the school, as well as being outside of the school. So I hope everybody has, we get through this COVID season and we pick up and we make things better from this point on.
Again, I appreciate you all. I can give you a snippet of what's coming up, Mr. Wilson. I'm going to give you'll be getting another inbox. So we're going to do something with my percussion guys from them late 80s and 90s. So I'm in the search. If y'all, you was a percussion, I was at Tennessee State. I'm looking for, I think I got in touch with a Southern drumline member, section leader. So if y'all know of any other HBCU drum that were not necessarily drumline section leaders, but they were part of the drum lines that marched sort of in those late 80s, early 90s era time, leave me a message. We got something coming up, a show coming in the future where we're going to have some discussions about, the current status of, percussion era of HBCU, high school and college. So that's something that's coming up. And that'll be a real interesting discussion that I can really get my teeth into. But again, I appreciate you all accepting this invitation. Anytime that if I can help out in any type of way, whatever it may be, I'm always here. I'm always looking for competition. I know me and Mr. Beard, and we've been trying to link up since he was in Memphis about coming to competitions and stuff like that. So I'm anxious to get back up to Cleveland, down to Mississippi, even way over there in Houston, and I'm just, so anytime that I can help and assist, or Maplewood, you all plan to coming in town for anything, competition, I'll be sending out invitations, and if we would love to have you. So this will be uploaded onto the Band Bruhz Facebook page in its entirety, and you will be able to share it once after everything uploads. So I appreciate you all chiming in, and we're gonna end that on this way, and we'll see you all on the next Band Bruhz episode.
All right, brother.
Gentlemen.
All right. Appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all.
All right, y'all be cool.
All right now.
All right.